Hello everybody, today's lesson is going to be on echinoderms. This is the last group of invertebrates. The term echinodermata literally translates to spiny skin. So every member of this species that you pick up will have spines of some sort. Most of them are bottom dwellers and they have radial symmetry, which is different than most of the other symmetries we've talked about. So basically what that means is you can cut them many ways equally in half, unlike us where we're bilaterally symmetrical. So starfish kind of take a step back from the other kingdoms, the other phyla that we've talked about, because they don't have segmentation. And what I mean by that is they don't have like a head region and a tail region. So how they normally refer to a starfish is the ventral side and the dorsal side, but most scientists use oral side, which is the side their mouth is on, which is the bottom, and then the aboral side, which is the side their anus is on, which is kind of like the top of them. They actually do have an endoskeleton, which means it's inside of them, unlike the arthropods that we've just done. And there are 5 classes of echinoderms with only 5,000 species roughly. So you have a group of Seastars, which most people call starfish. There's a group of sea urchins and sand dollars. There's a group of brittle stars. And then sea lilies and feather stars are a lesser known group, but I'll show you pictures of those. And then, of course, the sea cucumbers. Okay, so the first group are the sea stars, and they're in the class Asteroidea, so it's pretty easy to remember that. They're in the subtidal zone, but they can also be in the deepest parts of the ocean. But remember, they're benthic. They hang out on the bottom. They have 5 arms, or some have multiples of 5. I'll show you some pictures in just a second. They are all predators, and sometimes they will scavenge on things that are dead or dying. Their arms can regenerate. Their spines are made of calcium carbonate, which is very similar to what mollusk shells are made out of, and similar component to our bone. And they breathe through their skin, and they use tube feet. And what is unique to their phyla that no other group has is a water vascular system. Okay, so let's talk about the starfish a little bit longer. So one of their most distinguishing characteristics on top of them is called the madreporite, and that is Spanish for the mother of all pores. That is on the top of the starfish, and you can see it labeled here. It is the largest pore on its body, and that's where water enters. And then after it goes through there, it goes through a series of canals, the stone canal, the ring canal, the radial canals, which you'll hear all that in the dissection video next. And what's cool about them is they have an eye spot on the end of each arm. Can't really see very well, but it's more for like detecting light and things around them. There are separate male and female starfish, but when you look at their gonads on the inside, you can't tell the difference between male and female because they look so similar. And everything is done externally. So they release their sperm and egg into the water, and then the babies develop outside of the mother. The cool thing about them is if, like, for example, we were to cut off this arm of this starfish, but get about 20% of that central disc in there with it, it can become a whole new organism. And then also, of course, the one that we cut it off of would regenerate. So here's a close-up view of those tube feet. They look like hundreds and hundreds of little plungers. Okay, so here's some examples of some sea stars. Bat star, sun star, here's one that has way more than 5. An Indian sea star, and this is the red marbled star. I think this is the one that Patrick on SpongeBob is supposed to be modeled after. Okay, and we're going to go over the structure of these as we do that lab, so I'm going to skip that. Okay, the next group is Echinoidea. These are your sea urchins, sand dollars, and sea biscuits. So they have lost their arms evolutionarily, but they still have spines and tube feet to move around. And their mouth is actually called Aristotle's lantern, because when you can get it out of them, it actually looks like a little lantern. But it has 5 little teeth on it, and they scrape algae, and that's what they eat. And of course, some of these are actually toxic. So here are some pictures of these. This is obviously a red sea urchin. Here is a sand dollar, and here is a sea biscuit. And side note, I actually used to think that somebody made these and threw them in the ocean, because I had never seen one alive like this. I had only seen one bleached out like this, and it looks like some little porcelain thing somebody threw into the ocean. Okay, the next group, these are your brittle stars. These are actually, in numbers, the most abundant, but most people don't see these very frequently. They actually have jaws, and they have muscles for movement. Look at this one here. It's actually pretty interesting. Okay, then the Crinoidea, these are your sea lilies and feather stars. So here's a sea lily, here's a feather star. This is the most ancient group. They think these are the ones that have evolved first of the echinoderms. They don't move very much, and all they do is stay stationary and filter feed. Okay, then the last group, which is probably the strangest group of the echinoderms, these are your sea cucumbers. All you gotta do is Google some videos on sea cucumbers, and there's some really strange things, but I'll try to attach some that are not too gross. They have a really soft oblong body with no arms. Their tube feet are arranged in 5 rows. They don't have endoskeleton, and what's left of, they don't have any spines. They take in water and release it from the anus. I even watched a video the other day where there's this fish that actually lives inside the anus of a sea cucumber. I'll see if I can find that for you. This up here is their respiratory tree, which is how they breathe. And then their defense mechanism is when they get disturbed, they kind of poop out all of their digestive organs, and then they just regenerate them later. So while the fish or whatever is all freaked out or feasting on their organs, it rolls away and gets away, and then it kind of regenerates them later. Doesn't seem very efficient, but they've been on the planet for a long time, so it must work. Okay guys, that's the echinoderms in general. I'm going to attach a sea star dissection video, because that's what we would have done if we would have been together. And then I made a Google form to go along with it. And then I will also try to attach a bunch of videos that I think are interesting or funny or whatever. And then we'll be done with the invertebrates, and we'll head into the vertebrates next week. So email me if you have any questions. I hope you all are well.